Ever found something left behind in a new house? For the Miller family, it wasn't a forgotten box or an old piece of furniture. It was a porcelain doll named Laura, found sitting in a dusty corner of the attic. Her painted blue eyes seemed to follow them, her smile just a little too fixed, a little too knowing. The previous owners had left her behind. The Millers would soon learn why. The first night was quiet, almost too quiet. Then came the sounds. Faint, rhythmic tapping from the hallway. Just the old house settling, they told themselves. But when they finally peeked out, the doll, Laura, wasn't where they'd left her. She was no longer sitting by the attic stairs. She was standing upright in the middle of the hallway, her head tilted as if listening. A cold dread began to creep into the house, a feeling that they were not alone. They installed a small security camera in the hallway, desperate for a logical explanation. What they captured was anything but. The footage showed Laura, motionless for hours. Then, a slight twitch of her porcelain fingers. Her head turned, a slow, creaking movement that made their skin crawl. And then, she began to spin. A clumsy, hesitant rotation at first, like a music box winding down, then faster, more fluid. She was practicing. She was dancing. Their young daughter, Emily, wasn't scared. She was fascinated. She started telling her parents that Laura wanted an audience. "She's humming," Emily would whisper at night, her eyes wide. "She's humming an old waltz. She says it's her special song." The Millers tried to dismiss it as a child's fantasy, but the humming, sometimes, late at night, they thought they could hear it too. A faint, ghostly melody drifting from the dark hallway. Driven by a mix of fear and a desperate need for answers, they started digging into the house's history. They found a local historian who told them a story that froze the blood in their veins. The doll, Laura, had belonged to a young girl named Clara who lived in the house decades ago. Clara was a gifted dancer, preparing for a major recital. But on the night of the performance, tragedy struck. She collapsed and died on stage, mysteriously. When they found her, the porcelain doll, Laura, was lying beside her, its painted smile unchanged. The activity in the house escalated. One evening, as the family sat huddled in the kitchen, the living room lights flickered on by themselves. They crept to the doorway, their hearts pounding. There, in the center of the room, illuminated by the single overhead light, was Laura. She was twirling, a slow, melancholic waltz, her movements now graceful and refined. And on the polished hardwood floor, tiny arcing scratches were appearing with every turn, like the ghostly footprints of an invisible dancer. The next night, the mother, Sarah, was woken by a creak. She opened her eyes and saw a silhouette in her bedroom doorway. It was Laura. The doll stood there, motionless, before slowly raising one porcelain arm. It tilted its head, and its finger pointed directly at Sarah, then beckoned her to come closer. It was an invitation to join the dance. Sarah screamed. That was the final straw. They couldn't spend another second in that house. They grabbed a few belongings, didn't even pack, and fled into the night, driving to a motel. They left everything behind, including the doll. The next morning, exhausted but relieved, their phone rang. It was the realtor. "Hi," she said, her voice chipper. "Just calling to let you know the new buyers are very excited. Oh, and by the way, it seems they left a doll behind. It's the strangest thing. It's sitting right on the front porch. Do you want to come get it?" But what if the story didn't end there? What if, in another version of that terrifying night, the family didn't flee? In this version, Sarah and her husband woke up the next morning to an unnerving silence. Emily's bed was empty. Panic set in. They searched the house, calling her name, their voices echoing in the empty rooms. Then, they checked the security camera footage. The recording from the living room showed Emily walking into the frame around 3 a.m. She wasn't alone. Laura was there, standing in the center of the room. Emily walked towards the doll, her movements stiff, almost puppet-like. And then, they began to dance. Not as a girl and her toy, but as partners. Their steps were perfectly synchronized, their twirls and poses flawlessly matched. It was a beautiful, horrifying duet, two figures moving as one, their dance becoming faster and more frantic until they were just a blur of motion. Then, as the first rays of dawn touched the window, they simply weren't there anymore. The room was empty. The doll was gone, and so was their daughter. The only thing left behind were the scratches on the floor, two sets of footprints, dancing in perfect, unnatural sync forever.